and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a man wanted for a shooting at the Maine Mall has turned himself in. Plus, a federal judge has temporarily blocked President Trump's buyout offer for federal employees. And a local recovery organization is now expanding its services to the local jail to help fight addiction. Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday to you. I'm Craig Colson, and Emma Smith is off today. She's going to be returning on Monday. We thank you for joining us. We'll have those stories and a lot more coming up over the next hour. But first, we want to check out that forecast, and you'll probably realize that the roads are pretty slippery this morning. The snow has come to an end over much of the state for the time being anyway. Some folks may see an isolated snow shower before the morning is through. One way or another, you'll want to take it easy when you head out today because the roads are slippery. Let's check in with Devin Biggs for a first look at that forecast.
All righty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Northwoods Hearing Aid Center in Lincoln, Maine, providing quality hearing care while accepting most Medicare Advantage plans and private pay. Contact them today to schedule your free hearing test. Here we go. This morning we have some advisories to talk about. This right here is a gale warning that is up until 3 a.m. on Saturday. Some active start to watch out for. That right there is also a small craft advisory that is up until about 7 p.m. this evening. But otherwise, here's what we got. A few flurries developing this morning along with some of the clouds. Our high temperature today will be hit early. This is a cold front passing through that will send some colder air in our direction. Zooming things out, not just us dealing with snow this morning. Other parts of the Northeast seeing some snow tracking off to the east and a little bit to the south and east as well. Futurecast moving forward, the flurries will be backing off later on today. The clouds eventually breaking up too, as will eventually become mostly clear or so. Some gusty winds reaching up to 30 miles per hour today, slowly decreasing overnight as we head towards tomorrow. Still some gusty winds that we'll need to watch out for. Otherwise, for today, we have mid-30s, partly cloudy, a few flurries on the way, and that west wind getting up to about 30 miles per hour at times. Your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a partly to mostly cloudy sky with a few flurries possible and temperatures overall in the 30s before cooling off. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
All right, thank you, Devin. We'll see you a little later on. Well, the suspect in Wednesday's shooting at the Maine Mall has been arrested. Police say 20-year-old Ahmad Bashir Awad turned himself in to the police outside the Cumberland County Jail yesterday afternoon without incident. Officials say he's the suspect who shot a person inside a bathroom in the food court at the mall on Wednesday afternoon. A man in his 20s was rushed to a hospital and is expected to recover. Awad is now charged with elevated aggravated assault, reckless conduct with a dangerous weapon, and carrying a concealed threatening display of a weapon. He's being held on $100,000 cash bail and is scheduled to make his first court appearance this afternoon at 1 p.m. Meanwhile, a federal judge has extended the deadline for the Trump administration's buyout offer to federal employees. The nearly 2 million workers had until midnight to respond to an email or risk being laid off. The temporary block means the fate of the offer altogether is now in the court's hands as it weighs whether the administration's actions are legal. ABC's Christiane Cordero has more from Washington.
This morning, as nearly 2 million federal workers nationwide consider a so-called buyout offer, a federal judge considers whether the offer itself is legal.
It's going to save the American people tens of millions of dollars, and we encourage federal workers in this city to accept the very generous offer.
An email titled Fork in the Road sent federal employees this message: resign now and be paid through September or risk being laid off. It's the same email subject line billionaire Elon Musk used when he slashed Twitter's workforce. Hours before the offer's deadline, a federal judge in Boston temporarily blocked it, with a hearing set for Monday to consider next steps. The lawsuit, filed by 3 unions, argues the administration's efforts are unlawful and arbitrary.
Nobody has said what will happen to the services that the American people depend on, and yet they've been asked to sign an agreement that is unclear, does not provide any guidance for them, and there's no guarantees for it.
Still, the administration says 60,000 people, roughly 3% of the federal workforce, have taken the buyout offer, including this person who didn't want to be identified.
I kind of debated it for the night, and I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And then I finally did respond for resign.
And this mother of two, Shonda Loader, who works for the Department of Veterans Affairs. She tells us she's not sure what happens next.
We just don't know if we're getting paid, if we're not getting paid, if we're going to be working through September, if those who aren't taking it are going to be laid off.
Sources tell ABC News USAID will soon be reduced from 14,000 people to fewer than 300. The administration faces lawsuits to prevent that from happening. President Trump has called the agency a, quote, tremendous fraud. First Lady Melania Trump and daughter Ivanka promoted USAID's work during Trump's first term. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Well, meanwhile, Senator Angus King took to the Senate floor yesterday to share his position on Russell Vought as the nominee to become director of the Office of Management and Budget. He also expanded on his growing concerns over the Trump administration's actions over the past couple of weeks. King told his colleagues taking away a statutory established federal agency with no guidance from Congress and a proposal to halt all federal grants and loan disbursements were direct assaults on the Constitution.
Our oath was not to the Republican Party, not to the Democratic Party, not to Joe Biden, not to Donald Trump, but our oath was to defend the Constitution. And right now, literally at this moment, that Constitution is under the most direct and consequential assault in our nation's history.
Well, King said absolute power corrupts absolutely. He urged his colleagues on both sides of the aisle to work together to deliver the checks and balances designed by our founding fathers to protect the Constitution and our citizens. Well, earlier this week, President Trump signed another executive order aimed at the transgender community, this time barring transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. Despite these actions, members of Maine's transgender community say they consider themselves lucky. Our Alex Schley has more.
Since taking office, President Donald Trump has signed a number of executive orders targeting the transgender community. Advocates, however, are calling into question the legal standing of the president's directives.
Things that, can't really be enforced or are not something that a president can actually legally do.
Executive Director of Out Maine, Sue Campbell, says Maine's transgender community is fortunate to have the state's legal backing.
The non-discrimination laws that we have here apply across the board, whether that's in schools or healthcare or, anywhere else that our youth and adults are.
Campbell points to the Maine Human Rights Act, which says to prevent discrimination in employment, housing, education, extension of credit, or access to public accommodations on account of an individual's actual or perceived race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, physical or mental disability, religion, ancestry, or national origin. Last week, the Maine Department of Education issued a statement reassuring Mainers. It said in part, quote, the executive order does not alter the obligations of schools under state law, including the Maine Human Rights Act, and does not require any immediate changes to locally adopted school board policies. Will the impact of President Trump's executive orders remain unclear? Transgender leaders say it's more important than ever to stand together.
People have very good reason to feel fear right now, but I think remembering to not let that fear paralyze us and stop us from forming community and from taking action, particularly when it comes to really scary moments like this.
In Bangor, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, meanwhile, in other news this morning, the Bangor Area Recovery Network has announced it's expanding its recovery justice program to offer more services to inmates in Penobscot County. Our Grace Blanchard has those details.
Access to recovery services for substance abuse disorders can be a challenge for those in the criminal justice system.
A lot of them are forgotten about. A lot of them don't have a lawyer. There is a shortage of court-appointed lawyers. A lot of them don't have family or friends once they're arrested that support them. 2
years ago, the Bangor Area Recovery Network started a recovery justice program. It aims to help individuals navigate the challenges of recovery and reintegrating into society after incarceration.
After being arrested, those relationships that they had before aren't healthy. So it's important to have a healthy relationship with somebody that is walking that recovery journey path.
Volunteers and recovery coaches at Barn have been partnering with the Penobscot County Jail to offer one-on-one support to inmates. Now they are taking the program to a new level by offering a weekly all-recovery group meeting directly inside the jail.
I've often said that we're not a treatment facility, nor should we be, but we have a responsibility of giving opportunity for folks to connect with the public.
Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton says connecting inmates with resources prior to their release can make a huge impact.
They are the bridge that when an individual is released from the jail, whether they've been here a short time or a long time, they've broken down some of those walls or barriers so that they're comfortable starting a program.
Walker says advocacy is also at the core of their work.
So that people aren't forgotten, on their recovery journey, even though they're incarcerated.
To learn more about Barn and their services, you can visit this story on our website, foxbangor.com. In Brewer, I'm Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, Northern Light Health's credit rating from SP Global has dropped once again. The healthcare provider now has a rating of BB, which is 3 notches lower than its last rating less than a year ago. SP attributes the rating drop to, quote, persistent operating losses that resulted in debt service coverage, covenant violations in 2024 and 2022, and that have led to increasingly weak balance sheet with light unrestricted reserves and reliance on third-party advances and lines of credit for operating liquidity. In response to the rating change, Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing and Communications Officer Suzanne Spruce stated in part, quote, while we are certainly disappointed with the ratings change, we are encouraged by the changes we have made to drive improved operating results. We have worked diligently and deployed innovative measures in managing financial difficulties. This includes actively establishing new partnerships to reduce costs and moving some business operations to third-party vendors while preserving jobs locally where possible. All right, time now, 6:11. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, we'll meet the newest addition to the Capitol Police Department in Augusta. Teddy is a bomb-sniffing dog that will help keep people safe. But first, another check of that weather forecast. Today, looks like a partly cloudy day with a chance of a few flurries. Some people may see a few squalls move in this morning. The high is around 34 degrees. Mostly clear and breezy tonight, the lows dropping down to around 11. Partly cloudy and breezy tomorrow with highs near 24. We'll be right back.
When bad allergies attack, trust Claritin to keep you in the game. Nothing has proven more powerful for continuous non-drowsy allergy relief. Live Claritin Clear.
Hi, Todd from Dorsey Furniture here with a great financing offer on beautiful new furniture. The new introductions are here, new sofas and sectionals from Flex Steel, a new cherry bedroom by Ben and Aaron, as well as a new collection of living rooms by Leather Italia. During the month of February, qualified buyers can enjoy new furniture and take 24 months to pay at 0% interest. On sale pricing plus 24-month interest-free financing makes right now a great time to transform your home. Live well, my friends.
The Friday morning before the Super Bowl, GMA's in New Orleans.
It's gonna be super.
With a morning party event, a Super Bowl MVP, and Kylie Kelsey. Plus, are you ready for the biggest big game nachos ever?
Sounds pretty good. GMA at the Super Bowl.
Put a little more cash in your bank. Save money with half-off deals at foxbangor.com.
On Feud.
Name a way a woman might say she likes her men and her cheese.
You either nail it,
sharp,
spicy, or fail it.
Full of adventure.
Running around the dairy section.
Family Feud.
Where are you going? Stop all this adventure.
Weekdays at 9 on ABC 7.
The Maine Capitol Police introduced their newest officer on Thursday, and this officer is ready to make a positive impact on security at the State House. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard has the story.
But Teddy is just the floppy-eared dog that's going to find a bomb if we need him to find a bomb.
Officer Ryan Frost of the Maine Capitol Police helps introduce us to his newest partner.
Teddy, a 17-month-old Labrador Retriever who was selected, trained, and certified last year through the Maine Criminal Justice Academy with the specialty of explosive detection. Chief Matthew Clancy says their need for a canine like Teddy became clear after multiple bomb threats disrupted the legislature last year, all of which were deemed to be hoaxes.
With the changing political environment and some of the incidents that we've had right here in Maine, that it was time for the Capitol Police to be able to have this asset that is here on a constant basis.
Teddy's daily duties consist of proactively checking the State House, Cross Building, and other state buildings around Augusta for any signs of explosive material. Of course, when large events are planned like Wednesday's protest or last month's governor's address to the legislature, Teddy works overtime and is rewarded with his favorite treat of kibble.
We evaluate anything that's going on. I'll take a visual look of things. We'll bring Teddy in for certain areas of the buildings or the grounds, and we'll do searches, proactive searches. That's really what the goal is, be proactive, get ahead of things.
Teddy is not a native of Maine. He originally came from a breeder in Utah, and he was also originally named after Yankee Derek Jeter.
But we would never hear the end of it. This is clearly Red Sox Nation. So Teddy is named after the great Ted Williams of the Boston Red Sox.
As a young pup, Teddy is still learning the ropes and slowly becoming comfortable around more people. But Officer Frost thinks Teddy is already one of the hardest working officers in the building. At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, in other news, a favorite summer event in Maine is moving to a new home. The organizers of the Maine Whoopie Pie Festival in Dover-Foxcroft say this year's festival will be moved from the downtown to the Piscataquis County Fairgrounds. They say construction in the downtown made it necessary to move. This year's festival will be held on Saturday, June 14th, and you can get tickets and more information by visiting MaineWhoopiePieFestival.com. Early registration is also open for a nearly 60-year-old Bangor tradition. Starting today, racers can sign up for a spot in the 58th annual Keduskeag Stream Canoe Race. Registration is $50 per person until April 1st. You can register online at BangorParksandRec.com or in person at the Bangor Parks and Rec office on Main Street in Bangor. The race is set to begin at 10 a.m. on Saturday, April 19th. Usually they offer a little cheaper version if you sign up ahead of time. It gets a little more expensive as you get closer to the race. All right, the time now is 6:17. Coming up after the break, helpful advice for homeowners as the cold weather causes more water pipes to freeze solid. Plus, the latest on powerful storms that are moving east, including one that spawned a tornado last night near Nashville. All the latest as Good Morning Maine continues.
When a big storm hits and damages our electrical system, we have a planned approach to get the most customers restored at a time.
We begin by assessing the scope of the damage and helping first responders address emergency situations like down lines across roads.
Then, before you see us in your neighborhoods, power restoration begins at our substations. From there, power travels long distances over these transmission lines.
They're next on the repair list, followed by the lines in your neighborhood.
As we work to bring the most customers online at a time, we'll keep you updated throughout the process. Please remember to report your outage either online or by calling us at 973-2000.
Please stay safe while we work hard to get your power back on.
Don't cry, don't whine. Get yours where I got mine. At BB's Tattoo Company, 262 Moosehead Trail, Newport.
Amidst these frigid temperatures, it's all the more likely that pipes in your home can freeze and break. Those risks are something one local fire department is also being mindful of. Our Doug Banks has the story.
It's an issue every homeowner is aware of.
And so are fire departments. As temperatures go down, the potential for pipes freezing and breaking goes up. The same goes for fire hydrants. According to Brewer's deputy fire chief, Brewer's hydrants are maintained by the city's water department, but this can vary by community. Sometimes the town or fire department is relied upon to clean the hydrants when hydrants aren't usable or depending on the area of an incident. He says first responders will use nearby ponds or streams. But for hydrants in Brewer, he says they'll have water flowing out of them sometimes to prevent possible freezing, just like any other water pipe.
We benefit from the hydrants, but there is that maintenance of keeping them cleaned out and making sure that you have access to it when you need it.
Off the street and into the household, the American Red Cross suggests keeping pipes away from cold weather, allow water to flow out of faucets, consider insulating both the pipes and the rooms they're in, and don't leave the temperature in the home under 55 degrees Fahrenheit if pipes do become frozen. American Red Cross recommends opening up the faucets and using electric heating tools to thaw them as long as it's away from flammable objects. Call a licensed plumber and don't use a blowtorch or any other open flame devices.
Unfortunately, there have been occasions where people take it upon themselves to try to thaw them out. If you're using a torch or something like that, it's just not a safe practice. It's easy to start a fire in your home if you're trying to do that.
In Brewer, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
All right, the time now is 6:21. Time to get a full look at our weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Northwoods Hearing Aid Center in Lincoln, Maine, providing quality hearing care while accepting most Medicare Advantage plans and private pay. Contact them today to schedule your free hearing test. Alrighty, let's talk about the advisories first. This right here is a gale warning up along the coast until 3 a.m. Saturday. Some active surf will be an issue. We also have a small crowd advisory that is up until about 7 p.m. this evening. Again, active surf becoming an issue as well. Meanwhile, wave heights have increased at around 5 to 6 feet according to the buoys right nearby. Farther out towards sea at around 9 to 13 feet. So again, the ocean rather active outside this morning. Meanwhile, we're also watching some snow flurries that are greeting us as well as we're seeing some clouds moving in. A cold front's about to pass through. We're getting a few flurries with that, and falling temperatures will be common later on today. Meanwhile, not just us, other parts of the Northeast seeing some snow passing through. We'll start to see the flurries for us back off later on this evening. So futurecast moving forward, a few flurries today. They will back off as the day progresses on. The clouds eventually breaking up later on tonight will eventually become mostly clear or so. Then as we head towards your Saturday, a partly cloudy sky will be common. And then once we head towards Saturday night, we're looking pretty good, but increasing clouds as we watch for snow moving in. Otherwise, let's talk about that. The next system will start to approach as we head towards Sunday morning. We'll have to see how this happens. We have some dry air that will be intruding in from Canada with an area of high pressure up in Canada. Those Canada highs are common for sending dry air in our direction, so we will be watching that. So that may delay the start of the snow through Sunday morning, but we will have some throughout the day on Sunday. Then this thing gets out of here pretty quickly as we head towards Sunday night and the parts of Monday morning. So of course, I think the European model does a great job picking up on the lack of snow in some spots because of the drier air. So maybe a couple inches at a few spots from Greenville to Bangor, even near Bar Harbor. Higher totals will be further off towards the south and west, where around 4 to maybe 6 inches cannot be ruled out. So overall for today, we have mid-30s, partly cloudy, a few flurries on the way, and that west wind getting up to about 30 miles per hour. By tonight, 11 degrees, mostly clear and breezy, and that west wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Tomorrow, middle 20s, partly cloudy and breezy, west wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Northwoods Hearing Aid Center in Lincoln, Maine, showing a chance for snow on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, with highs in the mid-20s. Mid-20s again for your Monday under a partly cloudy sky. Partly cloudy Tuesday with highs in the mid-20s.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Opa, a Greek Mediterranean dining experience like no other, serving the finest of Greek dishes in central Maine. Let Executive Chef Gage Derbyshire prepare your food while you enjoy a drink. Opa! It's all Greek to me.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Let your creativity run free at the Creative Arts Center, where we offer fun and affordable activities for all ages. Birthday parties, pottery wheel classes, painting lessons, or just for the fun of it. Get fired up for glazing projects as well as acrylics. We offer a wide selection of ceramic products for you to choose from, and we have thousands of pieces ready to paint. We are a Paragon kiln dealer and a Laguna Clay distributor. Stop by the Creative Arts Center today, located just off the Joshua Chamberlain Bridge in Brewer. The Creative Arts Center, where your only limitation is your imagination.
Pirate Billy Bones is coming your way. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, Saturday, February 8th. It's a madcap family show that gives kids the chance to live out their dreams of swashbuckling adventures. With Pirate School, Sea Dreams, cannons boom, skulls talk, and everyone, young and old, can be a briny buccaneer. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, February 8th. Call 941-7888 or go to gracietheater.com.
Hi, I'm Tony Hafford from TC Hafford Basement Systems, the all things basement-y company. Basement waterproofing, basement structural repair, humidity and mold control, and nasty crawl spaces too. Since 1991, over 15,000 Maine homeowners have trusted TC Hafford Basement Systems to fix their basements. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basement-y.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Now to the violent and deadly weather as a parade of storms rolls across the country. A reported tornado about 2 hours east of Nashville last night, damaging buildings and bringing down trees there, including one on top of a church. Officials say there is a loss of life as well, and about 1,000 people were left without power. That storm struck after an icy mix created dozens of accidents across the Midwest and the Northeast. And another winter blast is now on the way. ABC's Lionel Moyes has the latest.
This morning, road crews are out in force after a mix of snow and rain made for scary driving conditions in the Northeast. Near Cumberland, Maine, I-95 brought to a standstill after multiple accidents.
Always have a small shovel, salt, any high-protein snacks, anything that's going to keep you calm and warm.
About a half an hour outside of Boston, this tractor trailer crashing and rolling over. In central Pennsylvania, energy drinks spilled along the road after this Amazon truck overturned. And now another storm is making its way across the country after dumping heavy mountain snow and flooding rains in the west. At least 2 people are dead in Sonoma, California, where heavy rain triggered landslides and destroyed multiple homes. Several people have been rescued throughout the state.
We did 10 swiftwater rescues.
The Marin County Sheriff's Office releasing this video showing the dramatic rescue of a woman who lost control, spun out on a wet road, and became trapped in a flooded creek.
Are you in there? Were you in the back?
That deputy breaking the back window and pulling the woman to safety. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
It has been a very sad week in Sweden, where people are mourning the loss of 10 people following a mass shooting. A gunman opened fire at an adult education center on Tuesday in the Swedish city of Örebro. The shooter was later found dead himself from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. It was the worst mass shooting in the history of Sweden. A makeshift memorial has now been set up where mourners have been lighting candles and gathering in prayer. Police continue to search for a motive for that shooting. It marks 1 month since the deadly LA County wildfires broke out. For the first time, a major utility company is now shedding light about the role its equipment might have played in the fire. And we're seeing new video of the race to safety. ABC's Andrea Fujii has those details.
Dramatic new images show the devastating Eaton fire in Southern California that killed at least 17 people.
Building's on fire, man. We gotta go.
The Pasadena Police Department releasing this video showing first responders evacuating seniors from a nursing home in Altadena, carefully getting them to safety. That facility was later destroyed by the flames. And now we are learning more about the possible cause of that fire. Southern California Edison says it is looking into whether an idle transmission line became energized and possibly sparked the deadly blaze. Altadena residents at the time reported seeing flames at a group of transmission towers.
When we saw it, it was just at the base of the tower.
and within minutes it had spread.
40 lawsuits have now been filed against the utility company, claiming its power lines are to blame. Southern California Edison saying in a statement, while we do not yet know what caused the Eaton wildfire, SCE is exploring every possibility in its investigation, including the possibility that SCE's equipment was involved. But on Thursday, Southern California Edison did admit its equipment likely sparked the Hearst fire, a smaller wildfire in Los Angeles that burned nearly 800 acres. Back at the Eaton fire, that harrowing footage shows police kicking down doors to ensure residents got to safety as the out-of-control fire closed in. Andrea Fujii, ABC News, New York.
And Governor Gavin Newsom has signed an order directing the state to advance regulations aimed at making homes more fire resistant. Well, it was almost like a scene out of a horror movie for a man in Australia. Take a look at this. David Stein called for help after spotting 6 venomous snakes slither into a pile of mulch in his backyard. He learned from the internet that the pregnant red-bellied black snakes pile on top of each other before they give birth, and that's exactly what was happening. Snake catchers from a reptile relocation group arrived and ended up catching 102 pregnant and newborn snakes. At last report, they were still trying to find others. Stein said that just seeing the tangle of snakes gave him the shudders. Most of the world's most venomous snakes are native to Australia. It's another reason why I don't live there. All right, well, coming up on the second half of the newscast, a local pizza restaurant is donating pizzas on Super Bowl Sunday to help fight hunger, and they hope others will join that effort. We'll have the details coming up on Good Morning Maine.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
When I would visit my mother at the nursing home, there were really bad sores on her back, but nobody would tell me what was going on. Why not?
If an incident has occurred at a nursing home that's brought up cause for concern, call the 2s right now.
The attorneys at Lowry and Associates helped me get answers. They held the nursing home accountable for what happened to my mother.
If you suspect nursing home abuse or neglect, we're your go-to lawyers.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Mira Joy, the overwhelming relief after Miralax helps you go. Miralax works naturally with the water in your body, putting you in a supernaturally good mood. Miralax, free your gut to free your mood.
Scudic and Bloom, a full-service, custom-designed florist, Main Street in Winter Harbor.
We can deliver one-of-a-kind, full-color flower arrangements
by custom floral designer me, Pam.
Delivering to Ellsworth and surrounding areas for any occasion.
Please visit scudicandbloom.com or call 844-SCUDIC.
The Farmer's Table in Corinna brings you outstanding breakfasts, lunches, and dinners made from farm-grown fresh ingredients. Dinner specials are available every day. Enjoy our homemade desserts, and above all, bring your appetite to the Farmer's Table in Corinna.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Friday, February 7th, 2025. It's also National Wear Red Day. This holiday was created to raise awareness about the risks of heart disease and strokes in millions of women all over the nation. It's supported by the American Heart Association and is part of National Heart Health Month. Cardiovascular disease causes 1 out of every 3 deaths in women every year, making it the #1 health-related killer of women. The good news is that 87% of all heart issues are believed to be preventable, and this is a day to explore ways to keep women healthy. All right, time for history. It was on this day in 1817, America's very first public gas light lamp was lighted in Baltimore, changing life forever. In 1962, a U.S. embargo went into effect against Cuba. In 1973, a Senate committee voted to set up a committee to investigate a break-in at the Democratic National Headquarters in Washington's Watergate complex, an investigation that led to the resignation of President Richard Nixon. In 1964, Beatlemania arrived in the U.S. when the Fab Four arrived at New York's Kennedy Airport. The Beatles had just scored their first #1 hit with I Wanna Hold Your Hand. They were greeted by thousands of screaming fans who caused a near riot when the boys stepped off their plane onto American soil. In 1984, Navy Captain Bruce McCandless became the very first human to perform an untethered spacewalk. He maneuvered outside the Space Shuttle Challenger in a bulky white jetpack of his own design. In 1985, Frank Sinatra's version of New York, New York became the official anthem of New York City. For birthdays today, they include comedian Chris Rock, who is 60 years old today, actor James Spader is 65, and country singer Garth Brooks is 63 years old today. Happy birthday to them. If it's your birthday too, we hope you have a wonderful birthday. And if you are heading out today, once again, you'll want to take it easy because the roads are pretty slippery out there this morning, and it looks like we might get a little more snow by the time the weekend is over. For more on that, let's turn things back over to Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Northwoods Hearing Aid Center in Lincoln, Maine, providing quality hearing care while accepting most Medicare Advantage plans and private pay. Contact them today to schedule your free hearing test. Here we go. This morning we have some advisories to talk about. This right here is a gale warning that is up until 3 a.m. on Saturday. Some active start to watch out for. That right there is also a small craft advisory that is up until about 7 p.m. this evening. But otherwise, here's what we got. A few flurries developing this morning along with some of the clouds. Our high temperature today will be hit early. This is a cold front passing through that will send some colder air in our direction. Zooming things out, not just us dealing with snow this morning. Other parts of the Northeast seeing some snow tracking off to the east and a little bit to the south and east as well. Futurecast moving forward, the flurries will be backing off later on today. The clouds eventually breaking up too, as will eventually become mostly clear or so. Some gusty winds reaching up to 30 miles per hour today, slowly decreasing overnight as we head towards tomorrow. Still some gusty winds that we'll need to watch out for. Otherwise, for today, we have mid-30s, partly cloudy, a few flurries on the way, and that west wind getting up to about 30 miles per hour at times. Your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing a partly to mostly cloudy sky with a few flurries possible and temperatures overall in the 30s before cooling off. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
All right, thank you, Devin. A local business is trying to make sure everyone gets a warm meal this Sunday. It's part of the National Slice Out Hunger's Pizza Across America event. Jason's New York Style Pizza is going to donate 30 pizzas in all. Chief Experience Officer Jason Black says it touches your heart to know you are helping someone who needs it.
We picked the Bangor Area Homeless Shelter, which is an organization that we work with often. We're in the business of feeding people, so it only makes sense.
As they're looking for other businesses to help them make it an even bigger difference, it costs $10.25 to donate a pizza, and you can donate yourself by going to their website at jasonsnewyorkpizza.com. What a nice thing to do. All right, still ahead this morning, Tyler Cruz with all the day's sports news. We'll also have some Super Bowl preps as well. Don't go away.
When you're ready to tackle your next building project, depend on the knowledge and experience of Hammond Lumber Company. Hammond's Home Planning Center will turn your ideas into accurate conceptual drawings, and 3D visualization is available. Your Hammond sales rep will prepare a materials list and cost estimate. And when you buy all of your materials from them, Hammond will refund all of your design fees. Hammond can deliver your order from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner since 1953.
He lose his shirt.
I've never seen anybody lose their shirt.
Do you think they made him pay triple?
I guess our tactics didn't work today. Who's the law firm?
The law offices of Joe Bornstein.
If you've been injured in an accident, call Joe. The law offices of Joe Bornstein. Maine lawyers working for Maine people.
Tell the insurance company you mean business.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Hey, good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Every day of your life.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Wednesday was National Signing Day, and the Maine football team welcomed a large chunk of their 2025 recruiting class. Included in that class was Holton star Isaiah Irvin. Irvin played quarterback last season, listed as a defensive back with Maine at 6'5", 190 pounds. He'll be playing defense for the Black Bears. Irvin was a finalist for this year's Fitzpatrick Trophy. He tallied over 8,300 total yards in his career with 135 total touchdowns, 14 picks, and 147 tackles on the other end of the ball over his entire career, while guiding Holton to a regional runner-up finish this past fall, and now he has the opportunity to wear the blue and white while representing his home state at UMaine. He'll be joined by Lawson Foley, a linebacker from Scituate, Mass., Scituate High School, defensive lineman Wazen King from East Orange, New Jersey, Richmond, Virginia native Camden Tiller, he's a 6-foot defensive back, and Bryson Wise out of New York City, New York, he is a linebacker. All right, moving on to the football, staying on the football field now, and the Chiefs and Eagles meet in Super Bowl 59 on Sunday night in New Orleans. Kansas City will be looking for its third straight Super Bowl title, but that number pales in comparison to Maine's super fan, Don Chrisman. Our media partner, Dave Eade, caught up with Don before his trip to the big game.
Kennebunk's Don Chrisman is in a league of his own.
I feel like I can handle it, so we're going.
By now, you know his story. Don is one of 3 people on the planet to have attended every single Super Bowl game, from 1 to 58. And next Sunday, he'll make it 59.
Yeah, I really thought 58 was the end, but I've told this story about ending for about 30 years.
Don says his biggest motivator are his 2 wingmen, Tom Henschel and Gregory Eaton.
I think it's the guys. They call, we talk a lot during the year.
Believe it or not, Don's super streak almost ended before it began. While on business in South Carolina, the plane he was flying on completely iced up and was ultimately grounded.
Friday night, I booked a train and got on a train in Columbia, and it took forever it seemed like. And I got to Miami 2 hours before kickoff.
Don is taking it one Super Bowl at a time, but he has thought a little bit about making it to the Big 6-0.
In almost 3 months, I'll be 89, so I'd be approaching 90 if I get there. I'm hoping, but we'll take what comes, and thank the Lord for keeping me here this long.
Oh, that is an awesome story every year. Let's hope he has fun in New Orleans over on Bourbon Street. Let's go to the basketball court now. Not a lot going on at the high school level on Thursday, but Maine men's and women's hoops still in action. Black Bears hosting NJIT. The last time these teams met resulted in a 57-44 win down in New Jersey. We'll pick it up at the start. A.J. Lopez finds Keon Burns, who cashes in the triple to open the scoring. Highlanders on the attack now. It's Jordan Rogers. He finds John Kelly, who buries the corner three to make it a 5-point game. Later on, Maine trailing by 3. Killian Gribben goes to work in the post and gets the hook shot to go. Nice move by the big man. On the other end, Tariq Francis sneaks in a pass to Rogers, who finishes a tough layup to cut Maine's lead to 3. A.J. Lopez now driving to the basket, takes the contact, hangs to make the shot. Maine wins. Here is grad senior Kellen Tynes. He became the all-time steals leader in program history on Thursday night.
Like I mentioned earlier, I just kind of wanted to leave, this place better than, when it came in. And I think, me alone, my teammates were doing a good job of that. So, getting the record is pretty cool. My mom was here, so she got to witness that. So that was a, special moment for me.
To the women's game now. Amy Vachon and the Black Bears looking for 6 wins in a row. They are on the road at NJIT. First quarter, Black Bears down 2. Caroline Borneman has it, puts her head down, drives to the hoop, and ties the game. Still tied now, still in the first. J.C. Christopher comes away with the steal, gets it up ahead here to Sarah Talon, who sends a beautiful pass in to Borneman, who gives Maine a 2-point lead. Second half, Highlanders up 3. Alejandra Zuniga hits Enya McGuire. She pulls it from mid-range, and she connects. Maine down 5. Maine down 5 again here in the fourth. Borneman again drives and gets it to go. She had 22 points in the night, but NJIT was too much. Zuniga driving, no look over the head pass to Madeline Doggs. NJIT wins 61-56. And finally, a really great moment circulating around social media following Duke men's basketball's 16th victory in a row, defeating Syracuse on Wednesday night. Cooper doing a meet and greet with some fans post-game, including one special young fan who was holding a sign with 3 boxes to check. The first one already checked for beating brain cancer. The second for being at her first Duke game. The third definitely checked by the end of the night with her goal of meeting Cooper Flagg. We saw him connect with fans in Maine for a while, and nice to see that part of Cooper still shining down in Durham. All right, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Hanks Husqvarna is your trusted full-line Husqvarna dealer, offering you everything you need for your outdoor projects. From high-performance lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers to chainsaws, trimmers, battery-powered and powerful snowblowers, we have just what you need. Every piece of equipment is fully set up, serviced, and ready for use by our certified Husqvarna technician. And all sales are backed by our in-house Husqvarna warranty. For parts, service, or new equipment sales, make your way to Hanks Husqvarna in Carmel or Newport.
I got hurt in a car accident, but I don't want to spend all day dealing with a lawyer.
It only takes a few minutes. It's easier than you think to hire Lowry & Associates.
We can tell you in just a few minutes if you may have a case. And that free call could mean the difference of thousands of dollars for you.
The first call to Lowry & Associates only took a few minutes. And in the end, they settled my case for $450,000.
Hurt in a car accident? I'm your go-to guy.
Call 222-2222.
Save thousands on your new garage doors during the double rebate event at PDQ Door. Choose from several beautiful Clopay garage doors and get up to a $250 online rebate, and PDQ Door will instantly double it to save you $500. Buy 4 garage doors and get up to $1,000 in rebates, and PDQ Door will instantly double it to save you $2,000. Find a door you adore during our double rebate event for a limited time only.
Super Bowl 59 kicks off on Sunday in New Orleans. The Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles each trying to earn the right to lift the Lombardi Trophy this year. ABC's Morgan Norwood is in New Orleans now with a preview.
Super Bowl Sunday is almost here when the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles will take the field with the championship on the line. It's a rematch of the Super Bowl game from 2 years ago when the Chiefs kicked a field goal in the final seconds to earn the victory.
Got it!
Playing in their 5th Super Bowl in the past 6 years, with back-to-back wins in the past 2, the Chiefs are looking to add to their legacy by becoming the first team ever to win 3 Super Bowls in a row.
They're a great football team. I mean, I know from the last time we played them, they were a great football team then, and it took everything we had to beat them in that game, and know that if we want to beat them this time, it's going to take everything we have again.
Standing in their way, the Philadelphia Eagles on a quest for redemption.
We worked very hard for this moment and to be the last man standing.
Philly running back Saquon Barkley on the verge of making NFL rushing history.
The fact that I'm so close to breaking all these records, the only thing that really matters is winning the Super Bowl.
The showdown will take place at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. Security at the forefront of the city after the New Year's Day truck attack in the French Quarter.
We came together with unwavering resolve to ensure that the people of New Orleans have a safe, supported, and are here to fully enjoy the excitement of Super Bowl 59.
President Donald Trump is expected to attend, which would make him the first sitting president to do so. And Kendrick Lamar says he's locked in for his highly anticipated halftime performance.
This is me, this is Kendrick Lamar, 37 years old, and I still feel like I'm elevating. I'm still on the journey though, you know? And I want that energy to, ooze out into the televisions and to the people that's in that building.
The main show will be on the field with 2 high-powered teams looking to make their mark.
We're just going to go out there and lay it all on the line. I mean, we've worked so hard to be in this game, and I'm proud of my teammates. We're 1 win away from going out and completing history.
Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New Orleans.
Great game. Well, meanwhile, Rihanna leads the Smurfs on a mission. Kenny Chesney shares a love letter, and more. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with the latest in the Hollywood Nation.
In Smurf Village, Rihanna goes blue, Chesney opens up, and Clarkson plans new shows in the Hollywood Nation. I've been waiting for you. Kelly Clarkson heads back to Sin City. The talk show host and singer announced her new Las Vegas residency, Kelly Clarkson Studio Sessions. She will perform 18 shows at the Coliseum at Caesars Palace starting July 4th. Just to say we did. Kenny Chesney is ready to share his life story. The country music superstar is releasing his first book, Heart Life Music, November 4th. The singer-songwriter says it's not his memoir, but rather a love letter to the many people who shaped and inspired him. It will cover his early years being raised by a single mother in East Tennessee, his rise to stardom, his music career, and more. Presenters for the 30th Annual Critics' Choice Awards have been revealed. The star-studded lineup includes Lupita Nyong'o, Jesse Eisenberg, Kate Hudson, Jackie Chan, and more. Chelsea Handler returns to host the ceremony, airing live tonight on E! Every day is a party. Rihanna takes on an iconic animated character in the trailer for Smurfs. The singer-actress is the voice of Smurfette, who goes on an adventure to save Papa Smurf after being kidnapped by evil wizards Gargamel and Rozamel. The film arrives in theaters July 18th. I think I swallowed my gum. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And with a final look at that forecast, here's Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Northwoods Hearing Aid Center in Lincoln, Maine, providing quality hearing care while accepting most Medicare Advantage plans and private pay. Contact them today to schedule your free hearing test. Alrighty, let's talk about the advisories first. This right here is a gale warning up along the coast until 3 a.m. Saturday. Some active surf will be an issue. We also have a small crowd advisory that is up until about 7 p.m. this evening. Again, active surf becoming an issue as well. Meanwhile, wave heights have increased at around 5 to 6 feet according to the buoys right nearby. Farther out towards sea at around 9 to 13 feet. So again, the ocean rather active outside this morning. Meanwhile, we're also watching some snow flurries that are greeting us as well as we're seeing some clouds moving in. A cold front's about to pass through. We're getting a few flurries with that, and falling temperatures will be common later on today. Meanwhile, not just us, other parts of the Northeast seeing some snow passing through. We'll start to see the flurries for us back off later on this evening. So futurecast moving forward, a few flurries today. They will back off as the day progresses on. The clouds eventually breaking up later on tonight will eventually become mostly clear or so. Then as we head towards your Saturday, a partly cloudy sky will be common. And then once we head towards Saturday night, we're looking pretty good, but increasing clouds as we watch for snow moving in. Otherwise, let's talk about that. The next system will start to approach as we head towards Sunday morning. We'll have to see how this happens. We have some dry air that will be intruding in from Canada with an area of high pressure up in Canada. Those Canada highs are common for sending dry air in our direction, so we will be watching that. So that may delay the start of the snow through Sunday morning, but we will have some throughout the day on Sunday. Then this thing gets out of here pretty quickly as we get towards Sunday night and the parts of Monday morning. So of course, I think the European model does a great job picking up on the lack of snow in some spots because of the drier air. So maybe a couple inches in a few spots from Greenville to Bangor, even near Bar Harbor. Higher totals will be further off towards the south and west, where around 4 to maybe 6 inches cannot be ruled out. So overall for today, we have mid-30s, partly cloudy, a few flurries on the way, and that west wind getting up to about 30 miles per hour. By tonight, 11 degrees, mostly clear and breezy, and that west wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Tomorrow, middle 20s, partly cloudy and breezy, west wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Northwoods Hearing Aid Center in Lincoln, Maine, showing a chance for snow on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, with highs in the mid-20s. Mid-20s again for your Monday under a partly cloudy sky. Partly cloudy Tuesday with highs in the mid-20s.
Got an itchy throat from allergies? New Claritin Liquid provides powerful all-day allergy relief in an instantly soothing liquid for relief of even your most irritating symptoms, like an itchy throat. New Claritin Liquid. Live Claritin Clear.
Gun Sports and Brewer knows that for fun, exercise, and meeting new friends, nothing is better than ice skating. Whether it's sailing down the ice, making a great pass, and scoring in a game of hockey, or the grace, strength, and expression of figure skating. From the youngest child all the way to adulthood, anyone can enjoy the fun of skating. At Gun Sports, we supply the equipment for your skating fun for great prices, the proper fit, and service after the sale. Shop your locally owned Gun Sports Shop, Greenpoint Road in Brewer.
My dad got shoved by an employee at the nursing home and broke his hip. When I asked management about it, they tried to cover it up and said it was an accident.
If a serious injury has happened at a nursing home that's brought up cause for concern, call the twos right now.
Our attorney at Lowry and Associates investigated and found out the truth. The nursing home had to take responsibility for what happened to my dad.
If you suspect nursing home abuse or neglect, we're your go-to lawyers.
Welcome to Residential Roofers, your trusted local contractor for over 30 years. From groundwork to roofing, siding, windows, and doors, we've been transforming homes and businesses with premium craftsmanship and materials. We understand the value of your investment. That's why we're committed to your complete satisfaction, whether it's enhancing curb appeal or improving functionality. Ready to bring your vision to life? Call us today for a no-obligation free estimate at 991-1502. Trust your home to Residential Roofers.
You blow me away.
It's a new year of new deals.
I want to be your partner.
And new dreams.
This is for my son.
What you've been able to put together is insanely amazing.
Let's go! Yes!
New Shark Tank tonight on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Two elephants at a zoo in Hawaii think they know who will win the big game on Sunday. Mari and Valge live at the Honolulu Zoo. And per tradition, they were given 2 watermelons, one with the Chiefs logo, the other with the Eagles logo. And after a bit of psych out, the pair ended up choosing the Eagles as the winning team. And in case you were wondering, they seem to be accurate in their predictions, as Mari and Valge correctly predicted the Chiefs to win last year as well. We'll have to wait and see how it all turns out. And finally, a tiny crab is making a big splash. This juvenile pink king crab is taking the internet by storm after making its debut on social media. NOAA scientists posted a video of the tiny creature after bringing it to the surface off the Gulf. The spiky crustacean is seen standing in a person's hand, barely the size of a knuckle. NOAA says the little crab was found when their scientists were collecting samples of coral species that they could raise in a lab. What a cute little crab. That's kind of neat. All right, that's it for now, folks. We'll continue broadcasting on Fox 22 with all the latest news, sports, and weather. But if you're heading out for the day, we hope you have a wonderful day and a really nice weekend as well. We'll see you back here Monday.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Opa,
a Greek Mediterranean dining experience like no other, serving the finest Greek dishes in central Maine. Let Executive Chef Gage Derbyshire prepare your food while you enjoy a drink. Opa! It's all Greek to me.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half-off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Pirate Billy Bones is coming your way. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, Saturday, February 8th. It's a madcap family show that gives kids the chance to live out their dreams of swashbuckling adventures. With Pirate School, Sea Dreams, cannons boom, skulls talk, and everyone, young and old, can be a briny buccaneer. Pirate School, Sea Dreams at the Gracie Theater, 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, February 8th. Call 941-7888 or go to gracietheater.com.
I feel like you really get me. Well, you know, I do my best.
Our first commercial was a hit. What's our next move? Talk like that all the time?
Yeah, and we could sell baked goods. How about a jingle? Get ready for winter at Frost Garage. Let's have a circus. Huh? Let's just tell people the truth. We'll get your snow tires mounted. And we'll get you some winter wipers. We'll make sure your battery's ready to go. Exactly.
We don't need a gimmick.
Get your vehicle ready for winter at Frost Garage in Hamden.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With 25 years experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Good morning, America. Winter storm on the move. New video.
And streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a man wanted for a shooting at the Maine Mall has turned himself in. Plus, a federal judge has temporarily blocked President Trump's buyout offer for federal employees. And a local recovery organization is now expanding its services to the local jail to help fight addiction. Good morning, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Emma Smith is off today. We'll have those stories and more coming up over the next hour. But first, to check that forecast, it looks like the snow has pretty much come to an end here in the Bangor area, although some folks out in the area may see a few scattered snow showers before things start to clear up as the day goes along. But you will want to be careful when you head out today because the roads are still extremely slippery out there. For more on what we can expect, let's turn things over to Devin Biggs.
All righty, Craig.